Hello, everyone. There are many bodybuilders who, even at the end of their careers, may become smaller, but at the same time, some look natural, others just on lower dosages or on hormone replacement therapy. There are different cases, but the loss of form stories become much more popular when athletes, for various reasons, dramatically they become smaller, and the more expressive the loss, the more excitement there is around it. The names of Jean-Pierre Fou, Mustafa Mohammed, and some other athletes come up in a similar vein, but perhaps the most striking example was, and remains, Tom Prince. Almost everyone knows that he was huge after a kidney problem. He drained all the weight. This damn bodybuilding won't do any good, and so on. You've all heard that. But then you subscribed to my channel so that I could dig deeper and therefore clarify where his problems began, what a terrible, death-bordering condition he brought himself to, and most importantly, what conclusions he drew. One more small point. Fragments of the issues will not be of the best quality and may be repeated, but still watch this issue to the end. Perhaps it will save you from serious mistakes in the future. In terms of self-improvement, Tom Prince could give anyone a head start. Tom has been interested in swimming since childhood, was a member of the junior national team in high school participating in various competitions, and later was a member of the U.S. National Olympic team. However, he was tired of swimming, and Prince did not see it as a source of income in the future. During his school years, he also played football and even then became addicted to strength training. Tom was very genetically gifted, and in his youth he was able to shake 158 kilos. According to him, he started taking medications only at the age of 23 and subsequently worked with huge weights and weighed up to 140 kilograms with a height of 173 centimeters in the off-season. At the same time, years later, after the end of his career, he did not hide that he did not use anything. In 2002, he used 13 drugs in his training, but at the same time, he claimed that he did not reach 6 or even more grams per week. Like some of his colleagues in the Iron Shop, Tom Prince's competitive career began in 1995. He immediately became the runner-up at the Nationals tournament in the heavyweight category. After winning this tournament in 1997, Tom Prince received a professional card. In 1999, he made his first appearance on the professional show Night of Champions. The bodybuilder took 13th place. As a result of Tom's zeal in the gym, there was a whole list of injuries that haunted him afterwards. Next are the words of Tom himself from the article, When Bodybuilding Ends. Everyone gets sick, not just athletes. Although at the peak of dieting and bodywear, the immune system drops and body failures occur more often, but in my case, they were always more acute than in others. Shortness of breath, pain in my shoulders, in my right elbow, and in my knees. I felt each of the injuries accumulated over many years of training. As soon as I came home from training, they immediately covered me with ice so that I wouldn't just fall to pieces. His left shoulder hurt especially badly because of the shattered cartilage. As soon as I turned to look at him in my sleep, I immediately woke up screaming in pain. Without antibiotics and painkillers, I would just go crazy. They were the only ones who allowed me to train further. At the same time, Tom showed excellent form, but his entire professional career was destined to last only 6 years. In addition to terrible joint pain and heavy breathing, he suffered from nosebleeds. Sometimes they didn't stop for hours. One day, Tom's wife took him to the doctor. He took the tests and asked to describe everything that Prince had just used. The athlete joked that there wasn't enough ink in the pen for such a thing, but when the list was finished, both the doctor and Tom himself were horrified at how many substances were in it. Moreover, we are not even talking about steroids or diuretics, but primarily about antibiotics and painkillers, as well as their dosages. The doctor could hardly understand how the Prince was still alive with such doses that he swallowed literally by handfuls. However, the results of the examination showed that Prince was indeed one step away from death. He was diagnosed with heart failure, advanced stomach ulcers, and kidney failure. The creatinine level in the body was more than 3 times higher than in a healthy person, and the athlete's kidneys functioned by only 15%. But after 5 days of emergency procedures, the kidneys were already functioning half of their natural resource, And Tom himself, meanwhile, was replaying in his head that the first signs had appeared in 2001 when he still could not dry the muscles to the end and he was constantly flooded with water for no reason. But then he didn't pay attention to it, he didn't take tests, he spared money or time, and now he was lying with almost non-working kidneys. After a few months, he felt better, but his body never fully recovered. Tom returned to training and looked surprisingly good. After 4 months without drugs, he still weighed 130 kilos and looked good, but probably anyone in his place would have sworn not to perform yet. What did Prince do? That's right, I started planning the next tournament. For the sake of truth, he was willing to weigh less, used only a third of the previous dosages, prescribed a more gentle training regime for himself, and even considered giving up the pro card and performing as an amateur again, just to experience what it feels like to go on stage as a competitive athlete. He decided to try to smoothly prepare for his last start and immediately realized what hell he would have to go through without the usual painkillers. The only feeling that I thought I would keep until my death was my love of training. I enjoy being in the gym so much that I could never have imagined that I would bring myself to such a state. But when every part of your body is aching with pain, you start to wonder why you need all this. And yet Tom continued. The dosages really became minimal. He regularly gave blood for tests and tried to be careful. But after 2 months of gradually reducing calories, he was overcome by exhaustion. He didn't have enough energy for anything other than training, plus he had insomnia. Just a few days before the tournament, he looked good but decided to drain the remaining water and, fearing diuretics, decided to simply stop drinking. Needless to say, Tom's kidneys broke down again, and he began to have pulmonary edema, which made him unable to breathe normally, and although he somehow found the strength to make it to the warm-up room and even applied makeup, he was no longer condemned to go on stage. Next to him at that moment were Flex Wheeler, who himself ended his career due to kidney problems, and his faithful wife. He couldn't stand it and couldn't perform again. He realized that that was definitely it. I knew it was an almost impossible task for me, but I still had to test myself one last time. It doesn't matter what happened, but I have the answer. Think about all the things you could say, but what if? But here is the result. I ended my career in bodybuilding. I wanted to participate in the last competition and just couldn't stand it, but at least I know I couldn't do it. Otherwise, I would have spent the rest of my life wondering if I could. After undergoing treatment, Tom was able to restore kidney function to 90% of its capacity, and he received a transplant. That was the end of his competitive career. At the end of his career, Tom continued his treatment. Sometimes he looked strong enough, but he also had a period in his life when there was no trace of his competitive form, and just these pictures of Prince were often cited as an example. It's worth stopping training, and you'll just blow away from your volumes. As for employment, Prince advised athletes as a nutritionist. Among his clients were Dexter Jackson and Johnny Jackson, among others. In the last years of his life, Tom Prince worked as a teacher of philology and medieval poetry. Together with his wife Rebecca, they raised 2 children, daughter Danielle and son Nick. There is also evidence that he and his wife have set up a joint business. Professional bodybuilder Tom Prince died on February 6, 2022 at the age of 52 due to serious health problems. The cause of death is unknown, but according to his friend Bob Cicerillo, he was fighting cancer. He has never won at the pro level, but he paid with his health for his carelessness and negligent attitude to health. He had been treating kidneys for years, underwent an organ transplant, suffered from pain and injuries, and admitted it years later. The important words from his interview are the main message that I would like to convey to other athletes who use drugs. Take regular blood tests, first of all. I'm just afraid that many people won't do that because they're afraid to know the truth, like I was once afraid of myself. But who knows, maybe my story will be convincing enough for them. Believe me, standing on death's doorstep will be more terrifying than the results of the analysis. So think about yourself before it's too late. I would like to add that you always have to weigh the risks and benefits when you are 25 years old. You just don't care if you want to be the best in the world. But only as you get older do you start to think about the price and what it cost. It is clear that professional bodybuilding, like any other type of professional sports, has nothing to do with health. but there are many examples when people completed their competitive activities and remained fairly healthy people. So it all depends on your approach, your vigilance, and your knowledge. And that's why I want to believe that this issue will really be useful to those of my viewers who are passionate about iron sports and pay much more attention to achievements and records than to their health. For everyone else, this is another atypical story of a fanatical athlete, which I thought you might be interested in as always. I will be grateful for your support. It helps in the development of the channel. Please like, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications about the release of new videos, and thank you for watching. Sports Guru was with you. See you later.